Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Deepika Gandhi, and I'm with Marquee 360. We're a Microsoft project and portfolio management partner, and you are here today to go through our demo and conversations around Project for the Web for construction, engineering, and manufacturing projects. I have a few colleagues here with me. I just want to introduce. First is Stella. Did you want to go first, Stella?
Hi, yes, my name is Stella Salom. I am a solutions architect here at Marquee 360. I have enjoyed deploying Project for the Web, Microsoft's newest and brightest PPM tool, over the last 2 years, which I've really enjoyed. And I'm excited to share how it can help with your industry, construction or engineering today.
Awesome. And then we also have Megan on the call. Megan, did you want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Megan, like Topeka said, and we're super excited that you're here today. And I'm an account manager here, so if you need anything at all, just give us a shout and we'll answer any questions and even do a demo for you.
Awesome. Erin?
Hi, everyone. I'm the marketing manager at Marquee 360. You've probably seen some emails from me if you're here. Thanks for joining us. And like Megan said, if there's anything we can do, any questions, we're happy to help. And also the session's being recorded, so we'll send that to you afterwards.
Awesome. Megan and Erin will also be just monitoring the chat. So if you have questions through the demo, through the conversation, please use the chat to ask questions as well, okay? We thought we'd start with a little bit about Marquee 360. We'll give you a sense of what to expect today from a webinar demo perspective, and then we'll wrap up with some questions and keep it as interactive as possible. I can't really see how many of you are on here. So Erin, do we have a count in terms of number of people?
There's about 18 on.
Okay, great. So before I actually start and talk a little bit about Marquee 360, it seems like most of you are familiar with the Microsoft platform in the sense of some project management with Microsoft. If you are not, please do comment on the chat so that we can start from some basics in terms of what Microsoft has to offer. But I will start with the assumption that some are using Excel, some of you are using Project Online, some of you are actually using Project for the Web, which is what we're going to talk about today. And then it seems like only a few commented and said you guys are using a different non-Microsoft tool. So again, if there are any questions and if we're going super fast on this demo or conversation, just chime in the chat window and then we can kind of back up a little bit and talk about the big picture as well. And Erin, just comment if you see something in the chat because I can't really see the chat window here.
I definitely will.
Okay, thanks. Awesome. So a little bit about Marquee. So we're a Microsoft project and portfolio management partner. What this means is we work super closely with the Microsoft product team in terms of developing extensions on the Microsoft platform. So the Microsoft platform today has a few options for project management. You can use MS Project Desktop, which is a standalone project management tool. You can use Project Online, which is the web-based enterprise project management platform. And then the newest platform that Microsoft launched a couple of years ago is Project for the Web. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So we do all three. We do training around desktop. We help customers look at the enterprise project management application on Project Online. And then for some of your more modern needs, we look at Project for the Web, although Project for the Web is now an enterprise project management application as well. We've been in the project space for a very long time. I personally came from Microsoft. I used to manage the project business for the East region, and just super familiar with the journey that Microsoft has on the project platform, right from the desktop days to Project Central to where we are today. We have a pretty broad footprint in terms of presence. A lot of us on the call today are in the United States. We have a few folks in Canada, and then we also have customers and extensions of our team in Europe as well. Again, we are super connected with the Microsoft product team. So anything that we see in the base product that might not be available out of the box, we build that extension and provide that capability to our customers. So for example, today you'll see Stella. She'll be presenting the whole platform from start to finish. When she gets to the timesheet piece, so she'll talk about the timesheet piece, that's an extension we built because it's not available out of the box on the Microsoft platform. Okay. Any questions? Okay. In terms of our focus, I've mentioned all these 3 points. We're constantly innovating with the Microsoft team on the Microsoft platform. We're constantly working with our customers on customer success. We really do have a dedicated team that work with clients, so we don't switch employees or resources in and out of projects. We provide that expertise that PMOs need to build an application like this. And then lastly, we not only help customers from an implementation perspective, but we also help support them after they go live. So any change management initiatives, training, all that good stuff, we help support as well. In terms of today's webinar, I wanted to mention that we have a pretty high focus on manufacturing, construction, and engineering, which is why we thought it would be beneficial for us to kind of show you what this means on the Microsoft platform. Our solution is pretty pre-configured. So what that means is that we work with various industries and we build like a pre-configured solution, which includes a lot of best practices. So you'll see this today. We have an intake app, which kind of captures all the project initiation, again, based on best practices. Then we have a few project templates available, also based on best practices, reporting, team collaboration, and all of that is available in a pre-configured solution. Okay. In terms of the focus today, so in terms of like why modernize, we're seeing a lot of shift in the project management space. So we're seeing customers who have very seasoned project managers who like to do certain things a certain way. But then we also have customers that have informal PMs or like, very involved team members who are working on projects, but they need a more modern interface. They need something more easy to use. Collaboration is becoming very important across project teams with this hybrid work culture. And also executives are looking to have reporting available on projects and self-serve reporting. So what we're going to show you today is bringing the whole Microsoft platform together. So we're going to use Project for the Web for the more task management, work management pieces. And then we're going to use Teams to bring it all together in terms of enhanced collaboration, bring the scheduling in one place so that teams are not looking at different tools for different parts of their project. We're going to use Power Apps to show you the intake piece. So every project lifecycle has project initiation or the business case intake. So we're going to use Power Apps for that. And then we are going to show you the basic O365 platform in terms of how all these pieces interact together. We're going to show you some automations with Power Automate. And then lastly, we're going to focus a little bit about the dashboards with Power BI. So it's a few different pieces on the Microsoft platform, but from your perspective, it should all just work together. And you'll see Stella will be walking through kind of a day in the life of a project manager in construction. And then she's going to pivot to more of an engineering scenario of a portfolio manager and what that would look like as well. So just to summarize before I hand this over to Stella, we're going to start with intake. All the ideas come in, we score them, we prioritize them. And then at that point, once a project intake idea is approved, it then goes into creation. There's some governance added to it as well. Every project is different, but you might have types of projects in your organization that follow a specific governance process. So that's where the automation comes in. And then she's going to dive into specific schedules for construction, schedules for engineering, what that would look like. She'll resource these schedules as well. So you'll get a sense of what resource management will be. And then we'll talk a little bit about collaboration. Most of you are on teams. What does this look like, bringing it all together in teams? And then lastly, we'll pivot into the dashboard piece. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Stella. But before I do that, any questions, or does this fit in line with what you were expecting for the demo today? Any open items that you want us to address? It's a very quiet group.
There's also another who wants to work with certain people, like reputation gets around.
Okay, so Stella, maybe we can get started on the demo.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So as Deepika mentioned, we'll be walking through several parts of the project lifecycle from start of intake through project management in PPM 360, and then also end with the Power BI reports. So as we look at PPM 360, which is Marquee 360's pre-configured solution for project for the web, we will emphasize the key areas utilized for construction and engineering industries. These areas can be used for product management, proposal management, parts management, and resource management, which we'll take a dive into today. So as I go through this, if anyone has any questions, you feel welcome to ask them, whether in the chat or when I pause in between areas as well. So as you can see here, we are starting from the home page of PPM 360. So here within PPM 360, we can have everything for our project lifecycle in one place. So from intake, if I wanted to submit a new intake, which I do on Thursdays, and this is the day in the life of a PM, so I could do so directly from the PPM 360 environment by selecting project intake here from the left-hand nav. You have the option of this to open, and you can submit directly without even having to leave this browser, or we can have this open in a new tab altogether. So for the purposes of getting a full view of it, we'll go ahead and open this in a new tab. So as you can see here, here's our intake website, our intake application within PPM 360. So I don't even need to leave here. And then here it is in a new window. So from here, I can go to view requests, and I can see a list here of other requests that I have made and the status of those requests. So for example, a project that we'll take a look at later is the Aerospace X Pre-Launch 2026. I can see here that after it was submitted, went through the approval process, and the project was created. I can see the project was created by the status, and there's also a hyperlink that will take me directly to the project within PPM 360. So we're going to go ahead and submit a new request today based on some information that I received from a supervisor. There is a new property that we are looking at in Louisiana. And in Louisiana, we're looking at buying a community property. So let's go ahead and look at that. So based off the information I have, I can submit this project request. I can select my department. Program. And request type, this would be construction. Here I can select my project sponsor or who will be the owner. And I see here we have a question. Is this a custom dashboard you created for, I'm assuming that you're asking about this right here, the home view. This is customized to your project types. So visual and the data, so the values and information, completely customizable. So there's very little things that we'll look at today that are not customizable to meet your needs. So everything you're seeing here is absolutely customizable. And this app was created by Marquee 360 to work with these other applications and also populate Power BI reports. We go back to my intake. Here we go. So here's more information. So location B.
While you do that, Stella, I think, Brian, did we answer a question about the intake? Okay, so this piece that Stella is walking us through is essentially a Power App that we built because we were building this for our customers as we did implementation. So what we figured is, since this is a common request that comes in, we pre-configured an intake app that every customer can use. So all of the pieces that Stella is inputting in here is a part of the pre-configuration. The nice thing about this is that two nice things. One is that it's already pre-configured, so it's very quick to deploy. So you can we can take this solution and deploy it on your M365 cloud. And then the second is, since it's a Power App, it does not need an extra license. You can use your M365 E3 license to use this app. So just wanted to mention that while Stella was inputting some information in here.
That's a very important thing to know. So thank you, Tafika, for doing that. So I filled out some important information about the new request here, which you'll see that when this gets sent for approval, and we take a look at that approval notification, this is going to be key information that's included. Now, once again, completely customizable. So that notification that the approver is going to receive can include any fields that you'd like. Just to really quickly touch on what Tafika said, it's very important for vendors to be able to submit bids, estimate, and that's why this is crucial that they have a location where they don't get stuck with licensing issues. So whether it be a portal or intake, it's good to have a place where you're not making your vendors or the partners that you work with have to have a specific license. So that is something that Marquee 360 also took into account when creating this application, which can be used for bid estimates, vendor estimates, and licensing is not a huge boundary here. So now I've filled out some basic information for this project. If I have some more project details, I can figure those out as well. I can insert that information. And maybe put some expected benefits in this field here. Now, when this new project is created, I could choose to have some of these fields carry over directly into the new project and populate in fields that are created in PPM 360 when the project creates there. This saves a lot of time for a project manager, so they're not having to fill out some basic information that was already decided at the time that the project was approved. Here we have a scoring model, which is really great for approvers to be able to organize the requests that they're receiving in order of which is most optimal or most likely to be approved. As we're seeing here, this can be set up based for your scoring model based on your questions, and it can be set up to each question be weighted more. So for example, if this question needed to be weighted 40% and the others to total 100%, that could do so, or simply off a point system. So now that I've finished my scoring, I don't have any attachments to attach here, but if I did, I could. And this is another example of something that could carry over to the new project created. So now I'm going to go ahead and submit my request. So we can see here that it has been submitted. You can set up notifications for requesters to receive an email notification confirming that their request has been submitted, and also track the progress via email. So now this is going to go through the workflow, which we have one approver set up for. This project can be submitted directly from the app here, from an admin, or directly from an email notification, or even a Teams notification. So there we go. So I was waiting for this Teams notification to come up, and it just did. So here we go. I received this notification. So I'm the approver in this case. And I have some information here. So as I mentioned before, the information that I filled out is included directly here in the notification that I received. So here's the request name, who it was submitted by, the project description that I just entered, proposed go live date, and the value that this project would provide the organization. If you have a multi-approver process, it can be set to go through multiple approvers, either all at once or in a specific sequence. Once again, I can choose to have the ability to approve directly from a Teams notification, which we will talk about how well this system integrates with Teams for collaboration, or I could approve it from email. So we see here what the email notification would look like that the approver could receive, and we could either approve with comments, reject, or even have an option to send back for more information. So I'm going to go ahead and approve. And when I from the email, I'll receive a notification now that this project, as the requester, I'll receive a notification that this project has been approved. We can see here that even though I didn't approve from Teams, the final status changed to approved. So this means if it's going to multiple areas or multiple approvers, wherever or whoever approved something first, if that's how you have it set up, all the other areas where the notification was sent will update to approved. So back on my project here, if I select refresh here, I can see that it's been approved. So now the workflow is working on creating the new project in PPM 360. What this means is it's going through the workflow and taking all the information that I have told the application to map to my new project, including things like the schedule, which is determined by request type. So if you have multiple projects that you run on different schedule templates, it can be set up that way. Business process flow, also determined here, this place and intake. So we'll see that some may have multiple gate approvals within the project and some may have less. And also the information that I want mapped over. So everything from go live date and project description and anything else, budget, anything else that you want mapped can be mapped as the new project's being created. So now we can see my project's been created. So as I said before, when a project's created, a hyperlink is included here. So I can follow this directly to my new project. Another way I can also see that the new project's been approved is through notification of approval. And also it will now appear under my projects, my active projects view here as well. I'm going to go ahead and follow the link to my new project from here for management.
Stella, one quick question while you look at this. This view that you're looking at, is that configurable, like the view of all projects?
Yes, it is. And I love this actually. So not only is this customizable to the default view, so as a company, you can select what the project managers will see, but Microsoft has now enabled customization down to the user level. So for example, if I wanted to edit the columns here, I could. And essentially any field that is present in a project, you can search for here and add. So let's say, for example, I wanted to see the date it was created on. I can select this amongst other things. Let's say I wanted to see which portfolio it was in, for example. And I want to see if it's in a certain specific program. Now I see the fields that I've added here, and I can move them around. And when I select apply here, it's going to update my view to show me this. Now I can save this view here, save as new view, and I can name this. Recently, I would say about in the last month, Microsoft has made it to where there's no longer a limited number of views. So a user can make as many custom views as they want now, when before it was limited. Now that I've saved my view here, amongst some others from the past, you can see here that these are user views. You can also create a view where project managers can directly edit information. So for example, if you had status information here, you could edit it directly on this view. So I can see here all of my projects and which portfolio and program I have each assigned to. So we'll go ahead and take a look at this project, and we'll go take a look at our project schedule. So when my new project is created, some information is transferred over, and other information needs to be completed here. So for example, plan project start date, plan project end date, I can have these carry in while these fields will pull from my schedule. So what that means is the first task in my schedule is going to be the start date, and the last will be the finish date here. So two things I had said before that we can determine from intake is business process flow and schedule. So here we have the Tesla EV project schedule, and this is our business process flow. So if we wanted a simpler business process flow, we could do so by selecting and mapping in request type from intake to use a simpler one. So for example, one like this may have less gate approvals. The schedule template, which we're seeing here, which is a starting point for the project managers, is also determined by request type. So if it was construction, we might see more construction-based ones, versus if it is engineering, we have more engineering-based tasks. Earlier, I'd mentioned that parts management is one of the key areas that you can manage for your project for parts management related projects. So when you're managing a project, you'll have multiple parts sometimes needed for a project. There are key parts that can be tracked here at the level of a label, which are reportable for creating parts management reports. And they can also be dropped into what we call buckets. So as you can see here, this task is related to a part, and here's a specific part number. You can also see that it's in the key parts bucket. These are reportable on these beautiful Power BI reports, which we'll take a look at, and even workflows can be set up. So what this means is that this task can be set up via workflow and tied to your warehouse or your internal vendor. So what this means is that I can have a workflow set up to where when I recognize the warehouse, I can come in here and mark that this part has been received. It can automatically mark this off for me. We'll see here in the board, I have key parts and the part number. And on our Power BI reports, we can create a table that shows the parts, part numbers. And if I no longer want it to show here after I've received it, I can mark it complete. I can drag and drop tasks here across. And these buckets are also reportable. So if I wanted to have multiple tables that showed me, for example, my weekly key parts, critical tasks, or issue tasks, I could do so here. Another neat thing about the schedule, which was recently added by Microsoft, is something called conditional coloring. Now, if you're a big colors person like me, then you'll love this feature. So as you can see here, I have already applied conditional coloring for any task that is assigned to Mia. Let's go ahead and add another one so we can see what it does. So here we have our conditional coloring option. And we can see the ones that I've already set up here. All tasks for Mia in pink. I'm going to go ahead and also have the tasks that are in the bucket, key parts, showing green. Now I can see this task here has a key part and it's showing in green. Now we can also filter all tasks here. So for example, if I wanted to make sure every single task had someone assigned to it, then what I could do is say, show me all of my unassigned tasks. Now this tells me that these are tasks that need to be assigned to a resource. If I wanted to say, show me all my tasks assigned to a specific user or users, I could do so as well. Now, we can have these labels read from the warehouse by the part number or sequence number. Now, if your engineering department or industry utilizes OEM manufacturing rules, we can also apply these here as well. If your project utilizes or needs a BOM, a bill of materials, which can be determined at the time of intake or once the project is created, this is also customizable and can be also tied to tasks directly in the schedule as well. So multiple rate cards for resources across a shared resource pool. So rate cards for resources. So for resources across a shared resource pool. So when we look at resources here, a resource pool, and the reports, a great way to view the resources assigned to multiple areas, resource rate cards. So pay. Good point. So for our resources here, when we want to add a new resource, I can look at a specific resource and have the information that I want to see. So resource rate, no, not pay cost. Okay, so I can have, for example, for resource rate for Erin, let's say she gets paid $50 an hour, but the rate that we make is higher. We can set a variance between these two to determine the benefits of utilizing one resource over another, depending on those pay parameters. Back to my project here. As I mentioned before, in tasks, we can assign resources directly to tasks within the project. That is one way to add resources to my resource team. Another way is by adding them directly in the resources tab. So if we look at our resources tab here, I can see all resources that have already been added to this project specifically. So let's say I'm lacking resources here. So this one, I definitely need some more resources. So I can add a resource directly from here. And I can set
Stella, quick
Yes.
question about the resources. I think there was a question about the rate cards for resources. Can there be multiple rate cards for a resource?
Yes, there can. So depending on what role they are filling, they can have different rates. So as we can see here, bookable resource, let's say I wanted to assign to Pika this project. So I can select a role based on all the roles I have in here, and then you can have a set role by user or set rate by role in general. So here are all the roles that I can assign to Pika, and each resource will have a default role. So if it's not selected, it will go to their default one. So I do need a parts engineer for this project. So I'm going to go ahead and make Topeka the parts engineer. As you could see here, when I selected parts engineer, I had a brief description of what this role is. This role is assumed to have qualifications needed, including a PE license. I can assign the dates I want Topeka for this project, which may not be the entire duration. And I can save it. Now I can see Topeka is my parts engineer role here, and here are the estimated start and finish dates I'll need her. Now, another way I can add resources to my team is by directly assigning them to tasks in the schedule. So for example, this is synced with your AD, so it can pull anyone from that's in your Active Directory in this environment. So for example, Mia. Now I can just assign her to this task, or I can add a group. I'm going to go ahead and just assign her to this task for now. And now when I go back to my resources tab here, I can see that Mia appears. Now Mia's default role in the system is set to trainer. So even though I didn't assign her as trainer for this project, the system used her default role. Now I'm going to go back to my other project where I have more resources already filled out for purposes of time to highlight how we can look at tasks for resources in a project across the entire duration of the project. So if you're familiar with Project Online, then you'll love this view, which also was recently added by Microsoft, as it's familiar to the task usage view. So on this project where I already have many resources, as you can see here, my resource team I've built up. These are, as you can see here, this is an example of someone that I've added to my resource table, but has not yet been assigned a task in the schedule. We have different resource views. So what this means is that this is not customizable to the user, but you can set up many views. So here we have the role, the resource, the role, start and finish date. But if I wanted to use this view, I can now see the allocation method. So if in the system, they're a part-time or full capacity employee, and some other information, as well as custom fields here as well. So for my tasks view here, we talked about adding the key parts and how those are reportable for parts management reports, and how workflows can be set up to link to either your warehouse or other data or information that tracks when parts are being received. This is really good for on-time delivery reports to ensure that all parts are being received in a matter of time. And if they're not, how we can account for those in the project schedule to ensure that delays are not occurring continuously in our project for the key parts that we mentioned. Now,
Hey, Stella, we have a question, a hand raised.
yes. Go ahead.
The governance on top, is that configurable by project type? Do you know?
Yes. So as mentioned before here, when we select our request type from a new project or for a new intake here, this request type is going to determine not only the schedule template starting point, but also the business process flow. So what we're seeing here is determined by that request type. Does that answer your question?
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so looking at this schedule, we have our resources now, and we looked at how the board view is a great way to drop tasks into a bucket. We can see that the people view here is a great way to do the same thing, but dropping them tasks by person. So here I have 61 unassigned tasks, one of which is late. So I can simply just drag and drop these to my team. And then at a more granular level, I can utilize the assignments view, which is similar to the tasks usage view I mentioned for Project Online. Now this is great because this task right here, although it's 8 hours, it may not be 8 hours in one day. I might need this to be spanned out between a week. And I can do so by having my daily view. If I want to spread these 8 hours out, I can do so. Now I see that it starts on 11/22. So if I want to go to that date where it's starting, I can see the 8 hours is assigned for one day, but I don't want it to be. So instead, I'm going to do 2 hours for this task will be on this date. I'll do 4 here, and then another 2 here, because I'm assuming that Anita probably has other tasks to work on as well. As you can see here, now I have the 8 hours, but it's more controlled over days, or I could even put it over time. We'll see this is going to be very important for my resource utilization reports. because if I see that I have a resource that is over allocated for this week on a report, utilizing my availability heat map here, I can see the specific week. And if my project is determinant of that, I can simply go to my project and move it to the following week, where she may not be over allocated at that point. Now we can group by resource or by task. So if I have multiple resources on one task, this is a great view for that as well. So we looked at the schedule, how to assign tasks, build our project resource, or build our project team, how to manage the task schedule, and some cool features such as labels, conditional coloring, and the task usage or the assignments view as well. So now I'm going to take a quick look at how we can view our projects on a portfolio and program level. So here I have my portfolios. Now, the difference between a portfolio and program is that normally this will also depend on your company's definition, but in general, projects within one program typically share resources that can be utilized across projects within that program, while portfolios may or may not be similar or share similar resources that have the same skills across projects in a portfolio, but may focus more on financial factors. So let's take a look at my engineering and parts development distribution portfolio. Here I can see the projects that I've included in this. And from that view I mentioned before, the custom view I created, I can see the name of the project, the program, and the portfolio each one is in here. So we can see here I have several in the real estate investment portfolio, but not all of those are necessarily in the same program. As you can see here, I have some that are real estate rental properties, some that are remodels, some that are demolitions, and some that are rental properties. For engineering, my parts manufacturing, I have some that are in the aerospace program and some that are part of the EV electrical vehicles line. Are there any questions so far? Okay, please let me know. So another.
Also, a quick time check. We have about 15 minutes, I believe.
Okay, I'm going to touch on Teams really quickly and how that has been integrated to work with your project. Another very handy tool of not having to go to multiple areas. So if we looked here, we can see that I have to configure this to where at the time that a new project is approved and then created in PPM 360, a Teams is also created. Now you can set up a Teams folder structure. The value of this is that if you have a Teams folder structure for all of your projects, when transferring projects, if needed, from one project manager to another, you can simply have the same folder structure, and that project manager taking over will be able to identify where, for example, weekly status reports might be. So as you can see here, I saved a weekly status report for this project Tesla, which came from Power BI. So now we'll take a look as a perfect segue into our Power BI reports.
Hey, Stella, quick question about the Teams integration. Can you go back one more screen?
Yes, sorry.
And this is created automatically, right? And can this look different for different types of projects, the folder structures?
Absolutely, yes. So the folder structure can also be based on the request type. So it can determine if a Teams is even created, and if so, the folder structure that it uses. It can also determine your folder, your team. So the team members that are automatically invited to that Teams can be people in your user lookup field, whether it be in PPM 360 or in the request type. So it also saves the project manager one less step of having to go and add each individual person, which is significantly valuable when you know your project already. It can also, workflows can be set up to send people notifications as well, letting them know you are now in part of this team and here's access to it as well.
Awesome. And Brian, to answer your question, we see both. So we see a lot of customers will request a project a team per project, but we do see customers requesting a channel per project. Just because nowadays I think all of us are in too many teams, so it can go either ways in terms of creation.
Yeah, that's
Would you
true.
agree, Stella?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was about to say, like, a lot of us are in too many teams. That's true. Also, if you have existing projects that you already maybe have that you're going to be putting into this, then you may already have that document storage elsewhere. So as you can see here, I'm in Teams, but within a tab here, I can directly manage my project the same way I would from the actual PPM 360 tabs. So my schedule I looked at earlier, I can log risks, I can log new issues, changes, and I can do that all directly from Teams without having to switch from one to the next. I think was there a question?
The comment.
Okay.
It is. Yeah. It's
Same.
really, yeah.
Enterprise concept, yes. So as you can see here, I can mark these directly. Another really neat thing that we set up here is the use of Word templates. So I know we're kind of running a little bit low on time, but for example, if I had a change like this and I needed a signature on it, and I wanted all of these fields to be live data to be exported, what Marquee 360 has included, part of our PPM 360 pack, which I love, are these Word templates. So these can be pre-configured, designed, and even include signature, and a workflow can be set up to where it even sends to a DocuSign or Adobe PDF, and even sends directly to a specific user in the field, whether it be a vendor or the customer or project team. So now I have this change open, and I'm going to select Change Request Template. We'll see that this is exporting to a Word document, and I can see it when it's been downloaded. So we can see here that's opened. And all of those fields that we just looked at, status report name, submitter, project, all of it is right here. And a signature area can be added at the bottom. And like I said, a workflow can be configured to even go one step further and send the documentation directly to someone. Now, it's not just for changes. It can be used for issues, risks, or even these fields in project charter information. So for example, project charter, we'll see that that one has a signature at the bottom. Now, for purposes of time, I'm going to go ahead and go over to the Power BI reports. So we talked about product management, price management, resource management, and then portfolio management. So as you can see here, the project that we were just looking at was the Tesla project. And this is a beautiful status report here of everything, all the areas that we looked at in those individual tabs. So this status report is going to take multiple areas that we saw within P360. And it's going to combine them into this beautiful Power BI report. Now, this report can be exported to PDF, and a workflow can even be set up to automatically save this in the Teams folder like we saw before for this project each week or bi-weekly. There's a link directly to this project as well, and this link will take you and open it directly in PPM 360. Now, let's say we want to look at multiple projects at the portfolio level. So let's say I want to view all projects within my engineering. So I select portfolio name and engineering. I can see all these projects here. Now it looks like my Tesla project's overall at risk. So if I want to go directly to the status report without having to go to it and filter for it, I can utilize the drill through mechanism by simply right-clicking on the project name, drill through into the status report. I can go directly to the status report and see all the information versus starting from scratch on the status report page here and having to select the project name. This portfolio health report and the portfolio dashboard report provide a really good overview level of all the projects in a specific portfolio and can even be drilled down to a specific program as well. So let's say, for example, I want to see projects that are my real estate investment portfolio, but only the ones that are remodels. I can see all of these here. Let's say I also want to include now the rental properties. Now I can see those as well. Once again, this looks very concerning, so I could drill down here and then see the status report with information specifically highlighting that project. Now, what's great about Power BI reports, which we all love, is how interactive they are. So I would like to highlight this here on our resource assignments report. So as we saw earlier, we saw that Mia was assigned to multiple tasks within this project. So we can see here using our resource assignments view for all my resources within this project. So for example, the ones that I'm assigned to here for this project and each individual tasks. Looks like I have a couple of late tasks here. And overall, for all the tasks that I'm assigned, I've completed 0%. We can see here that Mia is 83% complete of all the tasks she's assigned to her across just this project that I'm drilled in on. I want to reset my filters here and see how we can be interactive. I can select from the visual here, whether I just hover over it, I can see some information. And if I were to select Jake, 56 hours, the rest of the report is going to filter based on what I selected for that visual. So same thing here. Now looking at a resource availability report, I can see resources that are over allocated and potentially under allocated. Now the report we're looking at here, this availability heat map, is measuring by FTE, which is full-time equivalent. So this means that for the month of December, for example, I'm going to need to hire 3.5, essentially, full-time equivalent contractors to assist with the work that I currently have assigned to Mahesh, because he's essentially very over-allocated. This can be displayed in full-time equivalents this way, and it's based on target utilization and capacity, but it can also be displayed by hours. So for example, it can be shown on a weekly view, and you can see by week, it would be 40 hours by resource, and the heat map would instead show -10 if they were assigned 50 hours of work for that week or the month.
Really quick comment here, Stella, just in terms of the Power BI report pack. So I say the report pack, but everything Stella is showing you is we package it up as a report pack. And these are the most common reports that customers need, but we also help customers build new reports. So if any of these are missing what you need in terms of how you do things today, you can build those yourselves. Using Power BI, we can help you build those as well.
Exactly. So just to highlight on that, I absolutely love that about Marquee 360. Not only do we set you up with the configurations, but we give you 15 reports, and we ensure that, for example, if you don't have a desired go live date, we ensure that this is switched out to something that you do have in your system. These reports previously were only set up to refresh every 2 hours in up to 8 time slots. But thankfully, Power BI in the last month has allowed multiple refreshes now, so you don't have to pick 8 time slots a day. So what's great about that, you get these 15 report packs, like Topeka was saying, and we can do customizable reports as well.
I know we're right on time here, so we have a few minutes. Should we open it up to questions?
Definitely.
Any questions, comments, feedback, anything we did not address?
And we did do a really good webinar over specifically programs and portfolios. So we didn't have a lot of time to go as in depth as we could on that. But Deepika, if you wanted to send out maybe with the video a link to that webinar,
Yeah.
I know that's been very helpful to some people. Yes, lots of stuff covered. Thank you, Brett. Yes, yeah, I try to cover a lot without it being overwhelming. Apologies if I went too fast anywhere, but we'd be happy to do a private demo or answer any follow-up questions that you have. As a project manager who's worked both in construction, manufacturing, and healthcare, this is the tool that I personally wish I had as a project manager rather than Excel or even Project Online. So I'm very passionate about deploying it and helping project processes get from start to finish seamlessly.
Awesome. One more question.
Do you guys provide training?
Yes. So we do include training with every implementation. And we can also just, if you're on Project Online and you just want Project for the Web training, we do Power BI training as well. So just reach out to us. And I think Megan also put her contact information in the chat window. So she's available for questions. If you want to do a separate demo, you can reach out to me or Stella as well. But the whole idea here was to kind of show you a little bit. And then if you need more, we can definitely discuss more details. And yes, this session is recorded. We will be sending out a recording as well.
Here's my email one more time, just in case.
Thanks,
If I
Megan.
can, just one quick follow-up thing on training. We provide great training. I know because I've done a lot of the OCD training materials, so it is very step by step, and it's really important that if we're providing your training, you have something tangible, not just a recorded session, because with the turnover rate these days, it's really important to be able to have training material tailored for your environment and be able to refer to that continuously with new hires in the future, rather than depending on current status project managers passing that information on with the new system. So very step-by-step, very detailed, with emphasis and highlighting on being able to reutilize the training material and it being very tailored and structured to your environment and to your company.
Awesome. Right on time. So please reach out with questions. You have Megan's email, and we'll be sending out the recording as well. So you'll have my email as well. And we look forward to follow-up discussions.